The man suspected of killing his live-in girlfriend and dumping her body in a field in Bellevue made his first court appearance today. On Monday, police arrested 34-year-old Douglas Detrie for the murder of his girlfriend, 31-year-old Nicole VanderHeyden. At today's hearing, a judge ordered Detrie be held on $1 million cash bond. He's expected back in court next Thursday.
While it was less than an hour ago when Douglas Detrie was released from the Brown County Jail here, it wasn't even a full month ago when Brown County investigators and attorneys believed they had enough probable cause to hold Detrie here in the Brown County Jail for allegedly killing his girlfriend, Nicole VanderHeyden. But today in court, Detrie was absent, and Brown County District Attorney David Lissay vacated the probable cause finding and determined that there was no longer any probable cause to hold Detrie in jail.
He's not on any bail conditions at this time, so he's completely open to do, whatever it is he pleases. That said, I feel he's plans on staying in the Green Bay area. He wants to make sure that justice is done for Nicole.
Prosecutors tell me the investigation is still ongoing and will continue with the help of the Brown County Sheriff's Department. But however, they won't say if there are any other suspects in the killing of Nicole VanderHeyden.
New information today about a Virginia man arrested in connection with the murder of 31-year-old Nicole VanderHeyden. Her body was discovered in a field in Bellevue in May.
Well, the man who's been arrested and now jailed but not charged in this case had recently moved from Wisconsin to Virginia. But George Burch quickly became a suspect as investigators began following the evidence. Any homicide investigation relies on information from people to help hold accountable those who may be responsible for the crime. Brown County Sheriff's detectives say such information is proving vital in finding a suspect in Nicole VanderHeyden's murder.
One of the key things that we needed to do following Mr. Burch's arrest was interview the people close to him to establish a timeline, identify other locations for possible evidence.
Tips helped lead investigators to 38-year-old George Burch, who's only lived in Wisconsin for a short time. But within 2 weeks, investigators say he became a person of interest and then a suspect.
Through our investigation, we are now able to place Mr. Burch on South Broadway when and where Nicole was last seen. We are also able to place Mr. Burch at the location of the homicide, the location Nicole's body was found, and the location where additional evidence was recovered.
Sheriff's officials say while the investigative process has seemingly moved at a snail's pace, part of that is due to limits on evidence submitted at one time to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. So local police agencies have to prioritize their submissions, but that's being done here with one clear objective.
The Brown County Sheriff's Office has and will continue to put a tremendous amount of resources in finding justice for Nicole.
Now again, Burch is jailed in the Brown County Jail, but he's not been officially charged in this case yet. A criminal complaint is expected to be issued next week when Burch goes through Brown County Court a week from today. The probable cause finding against Burch came during his first appearance since being arrested on Wednesday morning. Now, the state had asked for the probable cause, that he be held on probable cause, because the investigation into VanderHeyden's death is ongoing. Statements made by Burch were also ordered sealed by the court commissioner pending the issuing of a formal criminal complaint. The commissioner also ordered Burch held on a $2 million cash bond.
I believe that the investigation has proceeded using forensic means that give us a level of confidence that we obviously did not have with respect to Mr. Detrie. I believe that the Sheriff's Office did what they were supposed to do, which is continue to investigate all leads. And they used forensic information to exclude Mr. Detrie, and forensic information will be used to include Mr. Burch as a suspect.
Now, the $2 million cash bond was ordered in light of Burch's past criminal history, which included some missed hearings in some of those incidents. Now, the initial appearance for Burch is scheduled for September 19th, a week from tomorrow.
The man accused of killing a Ledgeview mother of 3 will be heading to trial. 38-year-old George Burch was ordered bound over for trial this morning. An investigator testified that Burch was linked to the crime scene by his cell phone.
George Burch became a suspect after DNA evidence taken from Nicole VanderHeyden's body was matched to samples taken from Virginia and in a Green Bay hit-and-run accident. During this morning's preliminary hearing, the lead investigator in this case, Brown County Sheriff's Detective Brian Slinger, testified the DNA match came through the state crime lab. It was later confirmed from a comparison sample taken from Burch at the Brown County Jail. Now, Slinger also testified that data taken from Burch's cell phone acted like a GPS in placing Burch near the location VanderHeyden's body was found.
The one specific marking that we had was within 3 meters.
And again, that's in the middle of a farm field?
Correct.
3 meters is equivalent to 10 feet. The court commissioner ruled there was enough evidence to bring Burch to trial. He's back in court on November 4th.
The person accused of killing Nicole VanderHeyden appeared in court today for a motion hearing. The body of the 31-year-old Ledgeview woman was found May 21st, 2016 in a field near Hoffman Road in Bellevue. Investigators took an interest in 39-year-old George Burch as a suspect, a Virginia man who happened to be in Green Bay at the time. Police say Burch could be placed along South Broadway at the same time VanderHeyden was there. Evidence also reportedly linked Burch to the field where VanderHeyden's body was found and another location where her clothing was found. With the trial just a few months away, attorneys on both sides are preparing their cases for court. And this morning, the presiding judge held a hearing in Brown County Court to rule on a motion regarding one of the state's key witnesses, the medical examiner.
It's been 18 months since Nicole VanderHeyden's body was found in a field in Bellevue.
Presenting the state of Wisconsin.
Today, during a hearing requested by attorneys defending the man charged with her murder, details of her death were relived.
The cause of death was ligature strangulation and blunt force injuries of the head.
Dr. Anieczka Rogalska conducted the autopsy on VanderHeyden's body and was called to testify as part of a challenge by the defense to the scientific validity of her findings that VanderHeyden may have been sexually assaulted before being killed by 39-year-old George Burch.
There are injuries, specifically there are bruises or contusions to the external genitalia. They are suggestive of a sexual assault.
The doctor's findings appear to contradict the defense claim that the night of her death, VanderHeyden and Burch had consensual sex in a car outside of her Ledgeview home after meeting at a bar.
Can bruising exist in consensual sex?
Yes.
So then why are you opining that it's sex assault?
I'm not opining it is. I'm opining that it's suggestive of. That it could be.
Burch's attorneys are expected to claim VanderHeyden's boyfriend, Douglas Detrie, murdered VanderHeyden after finding she and Burch having sex.
I'm satisfied that her testimony would be based on generally accepted medical principles and her opinions would be given to a reasonable degree of medical certainty.
Rogalska is expected to testify at trial.
Prosecutors are asking the judge to allow data from an activity tracker like this one to be used as evidence. But the defense says a Fitbit's data isn't reliable. Brittany Schmidt tells us why.
Although police have DNA evidence they say ties George Burch to the murder of Nicole VanderHeyden, Burch has maintained his innocence from the beginning, saying VanderHeyden's boyfriend, Douglas Detrie, was the one who actually killed her. Detrie was originally arrested and questioned by police, but was quickly released due to lack of evidence. But the defense says there's plenty of it.
Almost the majority of very strong evidence the defense has to point the finger at Doug Detrie came from evidence collected by law enforcement themselves, was used against Mr. Detrie already, and we are going to use it against him again at trial.
Prosecutors argue the right guy is behind bars right now, and they can prove it if the judge allows them to use Fitbit data. A Fitbit is an activity tracker that measures a person's heart rate, sleep patterns, and step count. Prosecutors say Detrie's Fitbit data proves he didn't kill VanderHeyden.
During the vast majority of that time frame in question here, which is the time frame that we've narrowed down when we believe Nicole VanderHeyden was murdered. So between roughly 3 a.m. or a little bit after 3 a.m. and about 6 a.m., the device indicated that Mr. Detrie was asleep for the majority of that time.
Burch's defense attorneys disagree.
We don't have a single piece of admissible evidence that the state has provided us to prove that they're reliable.
We don't know. We don't have an expert. We don't have testimony. We don't have reports documenting how this information was collected and received by Fitbit.
The judge says he will work through the weekend, going over these arguments. The timing of his decision unclear, but it will have to be made soon before the trial begins in mid-February.
Lawyers for the man accused of killing Nicole VanderHeyden back in 2016 say Green Bay police violated their client's constitutional rights.
It comes just one day after a judge okayed some Fitbit data to be used in the case. It's his last hearing before he's on trial for murder. Now George Burch's attorneys are looking at his cell phone.
Information that we see on smartphones and in data on smartphones is really changing the landscape in Fourth Amendment law.
He claims he's innocent and that her boyfriend committed the murder. But the boyfriend says data from his Fitbit would prove that he was asleep at the time. The judge won't allow it. Most of Thursday's hearing focused on information collected from Burch's cell phone during a previous incident. His lawyer says that information shouldn't be used during a murder case. That previous case, a hit and run. Burch was cleared of that charge, but turned over his phone during the investigation. Information used now.
The Brown County Sheriff's Office chose in a murder investigation not to get a warrant. They chose to rely on consent that was given 2 months before when they weren't there.
But police say they didn't do anything wrong, and text messages are evidence.
Ever since I've been employed with the Green Bay Police Department, we have saved all extractions for long-term storage for as far back as I've been employed.
The judge will decide if the information can be used in trial next week.
Charged with the murder of a Brown County woman will be able to present some evidence suggesting that someone else committed the crime. That's according to a Brown County judge's decision this week in George Burch's case. His attorneys filed a Denny Motion earlier this year, hoping to point the finger back at Detrie. We've been waiting since June to see if a judge will allow that to happen. We got the answer today. Brittany Schmidt walks us through the judge's decision.
Cammie, in the 48-page document filed this week, the judge considered 3 different motions, 2 by Burch's attorneys and 1 by the state. In the end, only 1 of the 3 motions was partially granted, the biggest giving Burch the chance to place blame on someone else. But the judge reminds the defense there's a catch. Earlier this year, the state and Burch's attorneys came up with an agreement. If Burch takes the stand, he will then be able to enter in certain pieces of evidence that he says will prove he didn't kill VanderHeyden last May, and instead take advantage of a Denny motion that allows Burch to point his finger at someone else, in this case, VanderHeyden's boyfriend, Douglas Detrie. In order for a Denny motion to work, Burch will have to prove motive, opportunity, and that Detrie had direct connection to the crime. Of more than 20 different pieces of evidence Burch's attorneys asked to be admitted in court, including testimony of Detrie's ex-girlfriends and online browsing history, the judge will only allow 3 pieces of evidence to be used by Burch. Text messages between Detrie and VanderHeyden the night leading up to her murder, evidence that Detrie consumed drugs that night, and evidence that Detrie has a concealed carry permit. In the past, Burch has claimed Detrie held him at gunpoint, forcing him to help dispose of VanderHeyden's body after Burch says Detrie killed her. But once again, the judge says those pieces of evidence will only be allowed in court if Burch takes the stand. That motion was the only one partially granted. The other 2 motions made, one by the state and another by the defense, were denied by the judge. In the state's case, they will not be able to tell the jury about Burch's past, where his estranged wife alleges domestic abuse, saying Burch broke her nose and choked her. And Burch's attorneys will not be able to talk about Detrie's past criminal charges, including a recent incident involving VanderHeyden's sister. Burch's trial is expected to start mid-February.
Today, attorneys selected 14 jurors to hear this trial. Before that, the judge and attorneys spent several hours questioning many more potential jurors about the details of this case. And very early on, it became clear that this is a high-profile case here in Brown County. A judge asked who knew something about the case, and a vast majority of the jurors raised their hand, saying they had some knowledge of it. Some then got excused, saying they couldn't be impartial with what they know. Others got excused for relationships with 1 or more of up to 130 witnesses. Attorneys today spent a lot of time talking with jurors about their experience with cell phones and Fitbits. Those are expected to be key pieces of evidence.
How many of you have ever worn a Fitbit device? Is there anyone who's had a horrible experience with their Fitbit device?
And again, with these questions, attorneys trying to find an impartial jury. They'll hear opening arguments Monday in what's expected to be a 2-week trial, and Burch himself could take the stand. His defense has claimed that another man, Douglas Detrie, killed Nicole VanderHeyden back in May of 2016. So this just getting underway and about a 2-week trial ahead here in Brown County.
She had such a positive attitude and way about her, and really radiated love and light.
Tiffany Hoffman, a close friend of Nicole VanderHeyden's, says that is what she and others who knew Nikki will remember about the woman they dearly loved.
She was just fun and somebody that was very, very easy to talk to, and she loved her family, loved her kids, and I know her family always will want her memory to be that of her, just the wonderful, genuine ball of fire.